Hey guys, what's up? It's me, JaxHacker here. So, I have something to tell you guys today. That entire thing with that girl that I talked about on Valentine's Day has been completely resolved. Now, with this, I'm going to go through, like, the entire thing since I met her. Like, how I met her and all that stuff. Okay, originally she was new to the school. I think it was like maybe the beginning of the year, maybe like a few months after the beginning of the year, but it was something like that. You guys know about Sniff, right? He was my black Labrador. He died. Well, I had to put him down because he had leg cancer and he just couldn't get around anymore. Well, originally when we thought that it was just like inflammations of his leg or stuff like that, I told my teachers that there's something wrong with my dog, and I have to stay home and watch him and stuff. And like, hey, are you lying? Because my mom's a vet and I know about dogs. And I'm like, well, I'm not lying. And she's like, yeah, well, prove it. And I'm like, okay, well, this, and this is happening to my dog, and he's being fed this type of medicine. And then she's like, yeah, you're telling the truth. And that's actually how I originally met her. And then we started talking about dogs, like whenever I saw her, but it wasn't like a lot of talking. It was just like, you know, a little bit of talking. And then my friend, who I will name Ray, I talked with her a lot after class, and she sits right next to the girl that I like. So I was talking with Ray, and like, this girl would appear, and I'm gonna refer to her as Sue. Sue. Yeah, I'm gonna refer to the girl I like as Sue. Don't ask me why, but I just will. So, anyway, with Sue, like, she was always around Ray, so it was like, oh, hey, what's up, Sue? Hey, what's up, Davo? And we would talk, because, you know, the three of us would just talk during that math class. We would talk about how horrible our teacher, Mr. Dunan, was. We would talk about all sorts of things, like how he doesn't explain anything right, or all this other stuff. And then I realized that I had also had her in English, and I also sat with Elham in English, who is Zombie Fortress Zero, as you guys know. And because of that, we only got to know each other better. She sat right here, like right diagonal to me, and Elham sat right next to me. And man, funny things would happen in there, like we would always study for vocab or just talk, and that class is just crazy. So it's the last class of the day, and we'd always just have fun in there. There was this one time that I realized that she knew a lot of my friends, and I was like, oh, hey, do you know who Elham is? And she's like, no, I don't think I know any Elham. And I'm like, that's that guy right there. And she's like, you set me up! You set me up! And it was pretty funny, I gotta admit. And there's the time that, I had a blue Slurpee for lunch, and my tongue was still blue from drinking the Slurpee. And then I was just talking, and I was talking with this girl who sat next to me, and I was talking to, Sue, and it was like, oh my god, it was like she noticed that my tongue was blue. And she was like, why is your tongue blue? And I'm like, I'm not telling you. And she's like, open your mouth! Just so many funny things that sounded sexual but weren't happened. Man, I can't even tell you guys some of the things that have happened. One time, in my math class, there was this cockroach crawling around by her backpack, and all of a sudden she saw it, and she got up and she screamed really, really loudly, and she was on her chair like the stereotypical when they see a mouse, like in Tom and Jerry or stuff like that, they were like, "Oh my god!" And it was, oh my god, it was so funny. Oh my god. And then the teacher caught the cockroach and put it in what's it called? It was like one of those test things. Okay, let's just say it was a cup. He put it in a cup and put it on his desk. And then that entire period, Sue would just look over at it and be like, she just didn't trust it being over there. That was pretty funny. And then afterwards, when I saw her in 7th period, I was like, so, was it really so terrifying that you had to scream when you saw it? And she's like, did you see how big it was? They're not normally that big. That's what she said. And there, so many sexual things have happened that we said like that at one point, this guy that sat in front of me turned around and was like, do you guys have sex? And it was, oh my god, so many funny things have happened. I don't know if I told you guys this, but you know those happy birthday balloons that I threw at the camera that one day that I was celebrating my 2-year anniversary? Those came from Sue. It wasn't because it was my birthday either. Her and her friend came up to my apartment, was like, Donovan! Opened the door, shoved the balloons and a candy gun in my face, and then was like, happy birthday! I know it's not your birthday, but these are just balloons. And then they ran off down the stairs screaming down the parking lot. And then I just stood there with the balloons in my hands and I was like, what just happened? And then, right as they were screaming down the parking lot, my mom was getting out of her car and she's just looking at them, and she looks up at the door and she's like, do you know them? And I'm like, what just happened? But, yeah. So, then my dog Sniff died over winter break, and I think it was winter break or it was a weekend or something like that. But I came back to school and I was ready for a normal day. And then she came up to me and was like, hey, I heard about what happened to your dog. And I was like, oh my god. You kind of depressed me. Got me depressed, so I was kind of depressed that whole week. But that entire week she was there supporting me and stuff. And, I was happy about that. I really was. And, we talked. She talked about her blood problems. I talked about my girl problems. We would just help each other out. Then Ray moved, and she moved somewhere really far away from here, so she doesn't go to school with us anymore. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk with you to class every day now. And she's like, oh, okay. So we would walk with each other to class every day. Okay, so what would happen is, first period would start. Both of us would go to class together. Because sometimes I would see her a few minutes before school actually started, and we'd walk to class together. Then class would end, we would walk together to her class, then I would walk to my class. And then, depending on what schedule we're on, I would see her during lunch, and I would hang out with her during lunch. And then, at the end of the day, what would happen is, we would hang out and talk all of 7th period. Then after 7th period, we would walk together to her locker, and then we would walk with each other outside, and then that's just how it would be. That's how it was every day from then on. That's how I learned about, oh my god, I don't remember their names. I want to say it was Mike and something. Mike and that one girl. That's how I met them. Is because I hung around Sue so much. So, That's just how things happened. And then this one day, she came to school crying, okay? And I still don't know what happened to this very day. I want to ask, but I also really don't want to. I don't want to bring it back up again. So, this one day she came to school. She was obviously sad about something. And after first period, I was walking with her to the class like we usually did. And she didn't want to talk about what was wrong, and I'm like, okay, it's fine with me, but I'm always here if you need me, okay? She was like, okay. And I was like, well, would you like a hug? Those always help me when I'm feeling kind of down. And so she stopped right in the middle of the hall, which she absolutely hates people who do that, and just gave me like a big hug, like I was this teddy bear that was protecting her from everything or something like that. And then we continued walking to class, and it was good for me because I made her smile a little bit, and I was happy about that. And then after school, what happened? And then after school, and you always also need to know, she hates touching people. Like, she doesn't usually touch people or give them hugs, and she doesn't like being touched either. So, yeah, that's something else. She completely broke both those rules just to hug me, right? And so then, after school, she didn't give Mike a hug, even though he's like, would you like a hug? Didn't give her a hug, even though she's probably known him longer than she knew me. And then, as her grandparents drove up, she turned to me, gave me a big old, 10-second hug, and said, thank you so much for everything today. And then gave Micah a small hug, and then left. And that's when I started to like her. That was... I don't even know. I think that was probably when I started to like her. Around that time. Because we had started hanging out with each other so much, and we trusted each other so much. I think that's just when I realized... I probably liked her for a while before that, but that's when I realized that I actually liked her. And for a few weeks after that, I was contemplating the entire thing. Do I like her? Do I not like her? I can't tell. I really couldn't. And then I realized that I did. This one time I was talking after school with Mike, I realized that I did. And it was just... yeah, just how it was. He tried to make sense of it and was like, well, are you happy when you're around her? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of am. And he's like, well, is she happy when she's around you? And I'm like, yeah, I think she is. How often are you two together? Well, I see her at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And he's like, I think you like her. And I was like, yeah, I think I do too. So, you guys know the Valentine's Day story, where originally, oh my god, okay, but to expand upon that, what happened was, earlier that month she was contemplating on quitting the play because she was really tired after coming home from the play, and everybody was looking down on her and was like, well, you would have known if you were there for that. She was missing out on some of the play to go home and get work done, and also because of personal problems and stuff like that. And she was contemplating on quitting because of how much of assholes these guys were being. But she didn't quit, because she's not a quitter, as she said. She isn't. So, and I told her, you know what? As congratulations for not quitting, when this entire thing is over, I want to make you a cake. I want to make you a celebratory cake that you get to eat just for the heck of it. And she's like, you would totally do that? That's so awesome. But I ended up making that cake on Valentine's Day. And you guys know what happened then. I made her the cake. She was completely surprised about how good it was. But to expand upon that, she brought that home, and her grandma had some of it, and her grandma is a baker, by the way, and was so shocked at how utterly good it was that the image of me being a punk because of my hair and the way I dress completely wiped from her mind. It's like clean slate, bro. Like, yeah. So, then, later on, I went about planning on asking her out. I didn't want to ask her out on Valentine's Day because I didn't want to seem like I was giving her this stuff to butter her up for the moment. So I was planning on asking her out, and I was like, when would be a good time? And I was like, how about after I go see the play? Yeah, we can go to Whataburger after that, and that's perfect. And so I talked with Mike about it, and he was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. That makes a lot of sense. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And Sue's friend was absent that day because, wasn't there the day that we went to go because she got really sick. So, but then afterwards, Sue was like, wait, we were going to go to Whataburger? I completely forgot. Actually, she said that she had no idea that was what was happening. And I was like, we talked about this on Friday. Are you kidding me? But that blame was put on me. So I wasn't able to ask her out like I had planned to. Then a new idea had formed in my head. How about I ask her out? Like, we go and hang out one day and I at least figure out if she likes me as a friend or not. Because at that point, it was kind of becoming evident that I was a great friend. Emphasis on friend. So I was like, okay, I at least need to figure out if she likes me as a friend or not. That's something I need to do. And I want to do it in a way so that it doesn't be awkward. So that it isn't awkward. And I was like, how about we could hang out one day and that's what I did. And I asked her, hey, want to hang out this weekend? And she's like, you mean as friends? Emphasis on the weird face here. And I'm like, and then I was like, yeah, as friends. But that weekend, the day that we were supposed to hang out, started downpouring. Thank you, bipolar weather. Thank you, bipolar weather. So, we weren't able to hang out. And then, what else happened? And then, so that's just how that went. And then after that, it got a little bit weird, but it wasn't too weird. Like, it was just like we would just always be with each other and walking and stuff. But it got to the point where we didn't really have a lot to talk about with each other. And then came today. Today was the day of all days. You see, yesterday she had been acting really weird, and I felt like something was up. So I was asking her if everything was okay, if she was okay, and she's like, I think you're reading a bit too much into this. And I'm like, maybe I am. Maybe Mike is rubbing off on me. Maybe he is. And then what happened was, come to school today. I asked her again if she was sure, and she was like, yeah, nothing's going on. Most of the times that, at this point, like, most of the times that we were with each other, other people were with us. So, it wasn't really a lot of one-on-one time, but, you know, whatever. After school that day, or today, I should say, her grandparents weren't showing up to pick her up, and she's like, I wonder what's going on. Her phone had recently broken, so she had to borrow mine. And I was like, okay, well, here, borrow my phone. And she tried calling, no answers. then, so we just sat there and waited, and I was like, you know what? I'll sit here and wait until they come. And she's like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, I want to do that, because honestly, I stay after school a lot sometimes. That was my phone. But, you know what? Oh, well, I'm in the middle of recording right now. So I was like, no, I want to do this. And she was like, well, okay. And then, so we just sat there and we talked for a little bit, and then Mike came around the corner. I'm like, oh, hey, look, it's Mike. And she was like, oh, it is Mike. Hey, Mike. And he came and sat down with us, and she was like, you know what, Davo, you really should be going. I mean, it looks like it's going to rain soon. And I was like, well, the weather here is really bipolar, honestly. I stopped looking at the sky to figure out what's going on. And that got a little bit of laugh out of them, but she's like, no, really, on the news it said it was going to rain today, so maybe you should start riding your bike home. And I was like, okay. And so I got up and I'm like, you want to walk with me to my bike, Mike? Bike Mike. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, well, I don't like leaving friends behind. I'm like, yeah, same here. That's why I was originally staying here. And we just had that simple nod, like that I understand you nod. And then he was like, hey, Sue, how about you walk Davo to his bike, and I'll just stay here and watch the stuff. And she's like, hesitant about it, she's thinking about it, she's like, She's like, okay. And so, we walked to my bike, and I start unlocking it, and she's like, hey, Davo, there's something I've been meaning to ask you for a while now. And I honestly thought, like, she was going to tell me, like, what's been up with her the past few days. I didn't think anything else but that. I'm like, oh, is she finally going to tell me what's up? And then I'm like in undevoted attention mode. Undevoted attention mode. And she's like, Davo, do you like me? And I'm like, and then it's like, you know when, like, you have that chill that runs up your spine? That's kind of what it felt like. It was like, whew. And I was like, as a friend, yeah. And she's like, no, I mean, like. And I'm like, okay. So, yes, I used to like you, but I would rather have you as a friend, because I know that even if you did like me, which I'm pretty sure that you don't, and that you only like me as a friend, we wouldn't work out together. I know that. We wouldn't really work out together that well in the very, very end. And I would rather have you as a friend for the rest of my life than as a girlfriend for just a few months of mine. And she was like, she knew what I was talking about. She's like, okay. I was just wondering, because I didn't want it to feel like I was leading you on. And I'm like, I understand. I am so happy that's the conclusion we reached, was a non-awkward agreement. If I had brought that up, I know it would have been awkward, because I'm horrible at speaking. This is proof of how horrible I am at speaking. So, yeah. And then she said, well, I'm gonna go back now, just in case if my grandparents arrive. Bye. And I'm like, okay, bye. And it was... I'm so happy that she's smart enough to realize that there are guys out there that like her, unlike certain girls who assume that they're just the best guy friend ever, and do in fact lead them on. I'm happy. I'm really happy that she was that smart. Yeah. You know, but a lot of things happened between us. I really didn't think that would get between us. But, you know, after looking at stuff like Carlos's relationships and what happened with Mike, I realized that being in the friend zone isn't really a bad thing. I mean, really, if you really like somebody, then you're gonna know when they would be unhappy with you. But honestly, maybe someday she would be happy with me, but for now, I'm perfectly happy and perfectly content with being her friend. That's the conclusion of the story. I know some of you are probably going to be pissed at me for not going for it, or even saying that I didn't like her now. Because honestly, I do like her now. And, you know, I do still like her, but I also know that we just wouldn't work together. And I know that she's important enough to me that I would rather have her as a part of my life for a long, long time compared to just, you know, a year, a few months for a girlfriend. You know, in the future, things may change. Sometimes you just gotta believe. That's what love is. Believing. If she honestly doesn't believe that we're good for each other right now, maybe we will be one day. But for now, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with just being friends. And obviously she is too. So, there you go. I will see you guys later. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.